Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah, good evening, members. I welcome you all for the webinar on streamlining GST process with the Tally Prime 3 for chartered accountants. This session aims to showcase the remarkable capabilities of Tally Prime 3 in resolving the GST-related challenges faced by our CA professionals. Today, I would like to introduce today's speakers, CA Monica Chellani Ranka. She is a practicing chartered accountant. She has worked in areas of company law, income tax act, erstwhile VAT, excise and service tax and GST act, auditing and assurance of corporates, non-corporates, including manufacturing concerns. She is a regular speaker at various ICAI forums. She is a Tally evangelist and will take us through the latest release of Tally Prime 3, Simplicity Ka Naya Avatar. And also, I would like to introduce our co-speaker, Abbas Muhammad Ishaq. Survey is from product designing team from Tally Solutions. He will be a co-speaker on today's discussion, taking us through the latest features of Tally Prime 3. So I would like to welcome both the speakers and the members for this webinar. Thank you very much.
Yes, can we start? Thank you so much for that introduction, sir. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So this Tally Prime 3.0 has been in talks for quite some time now, and finally it's got released. So there are a lot of changes from the previous Tally version to this Tally version, and they say simplicity ka naya avatar. In a lot of ways it is actually simplified and made more user friendly. So that is what we're going to decode in today's session. So today's agenda would be, we're going to focus majorly on GST features because that is the, major changes that has happened, and a lot of good. Yes, there's some disturbance which is there. I know from where. Yeah, okay. So there are a lot of features that have been enhanced in the GST perspective, especially. And apart from that, we're going to look into some other changes that has been brought into this Tally 3.0. This would be the agenda for the day. We will start with the GST features, which starts right from the company settings to the reconciliation. So the changes have happened throughout, right from the company, say F11 features throughout the reconciliation. So everywhere, every facet, there has been a small change done, and the change has been really impactful. So out of these changes, these are the few things, if you bifurcate the changes, these are what has been done through. The first one is the multi-GSTN, after which the configurations that have been enhanced, and also the rate setup features that have been brought in, plus the invoicing and related features, and finally the returns and reconciliation. So we will start with the multi-GSTN. So I would like to hand it over to our product expert, Abbas ji. He will handle multi-GSTN, and we'll get back into the remaining set of the topics.
Thank you, Monica ji.
I'll just stop my screen share. You can connect your.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Now, as Monica ji is talking about the various enhancements which we have brought in the form of Tally Prime Release 3.0. Actually, we have revamped the entire GST module, in which various things has been modified and various things has been bring to its simpler form. So in that, apart from simplifying things, we are also catering to a one more need of the people called maintaining multiple GSTN in the same company. Earlier, the people who has this kind of requirement where they want to maintain multiple GSTN, or say suppose I'm using a single PAN, and under my single PAN I'm having multiple GSTN. So in earlier releases, we were not providing any solution for that. People have to create separate company for each GSTN. But there was a requirement from the market saying that, okay, if I'm having single PAN, why I cannot create a single company and have my all GSTN under the single company and file the return for individual GSTN separately. Now in Tally Prime release 3.0, we have come up with that particular solution where you can manage multiple GSTN belong to the single PAN, and you can file their respective return as you want. So just to show you, now you can see my company is loaded. Now this company is already having multiple GSTN. So I'll show you where are the multiple GSTN. You just have to go to F11, and the moment you say enable GST, it will ask you want to alter for which one. So as you can see in this particular company, I have already created 4 various GSTN under the single one. And now say suppose apart from this, if I want to create one more, say suppose I want to create a Kerala registration, or if I want to create any other state registration, which is where I have a branch, where I have a GSTN available, then I can simply either I can go here and say create. I have to mention the state name and whatever the type of the registration, whether it's a regular registration, composition registration, or regular SSE. Accordingly, I'll choose the field, and then I will update the GST number and save it. So I'm taking a GSTN number, and just save it. Now, the moment you save it, what will happen? This GSTN will get created. Now it is asking you, okay, for this particular GSTN, you can create a unique voucher numbering series, because that is the need of the GSTN. So that you can do by going in the chart of accounts, or you can create a separate voucher type for this particular GSTN, and then accordingly you can use those particular series separately. So I'm not creating now, so I'm saying no. So now what happens? The moment I have created one GSTN, it is got added here. So likewise, you can create as many GSTN as you want, and those GSTN will be available for you for the transaction. Now we'll see how you'll use this GSTN for the transactions. So I'm just coming out of the screen. There is no difference. You can simply go in any voucher entity. So suppose I want to do sales. Now here you can observe one thing. When I'm selecting a sales, one particular GSTN is already selected over here. So it says Karnataka registration I'm doing the transaction for. But say suppose I don't want to do the transaction for Karnataka, I want to do it for someone else. So simply you have to press F3 here, click on that. The moment you click on that, it will show you the list of registration available in your company. Just have to choose which one you want to do the transaction with. Now you can use a series which we were talking about. That series you can use a default series, or you can use a new series if you want, or you can create a separate series for Kerala registration. So I'm using a default series, and then say system default, and the number will come. Now, if you want to have any prefix or suffix detail for this particular registration, that is also you can do. So likewise, you can keep making the transaction for whichever registration you want. Not only that, you can also create a voucher type belong to a particular registration. You can select a particular voucher type which you can set for a particular registration. That also you can do. For example, here if you see, I'm coming to Gateway of Tally. I want to create a voucher type. I want to create a Kerala sales, say suppose. So I'm doing that under sales account. And now in this voucher type, what I can do is, you see here, there is an option called default GST registration. Now here I can default one. So I can say, I want to use this particular voucher type for Kerala registration transaction. that I can do. Now here, use common voucher numbering for all GST registration. I said no. Accept. Now what will happen? Similarly, it is as good as creating a voucher type for a particular task. Now I'll go in the voucher. Now when I press F8, it will ask me which voucher type you want to use. I can say Kerala says, and automatically the registration is set. So now you can fix a particular voucher type for a particular registration, or if you have few transactions for few registration, you can have a common sales voucher type, and as and when the transactions you are passing, you can choose from here which registration or which GST you want to pass the transaction for. So once you do all these transactions, now what is the impact on the return front? So now, since suppose I have created all my transaction in various multi GSTN, now when I'm going for a filing or any kind of reconciliation or for anything related to GST, Tally will keep the track of each registration separately. So now I'm going in GST report, say suppose GSTR1. By default, what happens? It will show you the transaction for all registration together. That means my data, say I'm doing for the whole year, my data will be shown as a consolidated data. So this is also one of the requirement. If a businessman who is having a single PAN and multiple GST registration, he can get the view of all his GST and registration in one screen. So he can able to see everything consolidated, how many B2B sales did, how many B2C sales did, and everything. Now say suppose I want to see for a particular registration. Similarly, just press F3, choose a particular registration, and then system will show you the data for that registration. Now for this registration, I don't have any data. That's why it's not showing me any values. I think I have for this. See, now for Karnataka registration, this is my report of GSTR1. Now you can file this particular return as in when you are finished with all exception resolution and all that, and it will smooth the life of the user. So multi-GSTN is a capability where a single PAN holder having multiple GSTN can maintain all his GSTN related transaction in a single company. If you want to maintain a single company in which all GSTN registration transactions should be available, you can do so from Tally Prime Release 3.0. Yeah, that's it from my side. Any questions, or we'll take the question answers at the end? Any questions we are getting on the chat currently related to this particular subject?
I don't think we have any questions.
No questions. So I hope people understood this feature well. But nevertheless, if you have any questions related to multi-GST, you can post your queries in Q&A section. We'll take it up during the Q&A section.
Yeah, Abbasi, I think there's one question Q&A. I think you can reply directly there.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, Komiti, over to you. I'll stop my sharing.
Yes. So, Abbas ji has set up a momentum for the session. Yes, multi-GSTN was the first aspect, but once that is done, there are a lot of changes that have happened to the core of every master, and the the returns and all the small, say the item master or the ledger. Those basic changes we're going to address right now. So these are the changes that have happened, that you can record all transactions for your multiple GST registrations in now single data now. So if you have, say, a Tally server, or you have any connection wherein you have single data and data is getting entered in various places, this multi GSTN will solve your issue. Secondly, e-way bills and e-invoices generation also happens, multi-GSTN, and for all the GSTN within the same data, you can, generate your e-way bills and e-invoices. And now this third and the fourth category is in those cases wherein we have all experienced this, wherein a particular business will be unregistered for a particular date, and between the year the registration, they obtain a registration, or vice versa, they surrender the registration. How to handle those cases? In earlier versions, the solution was to create a separate, master for the registered and unregistered and do accordingly. But in the new version, you can, use the same master and proceed with your transactions. So that is what it is. And for your own business, for your own company also, you can handle these registration changes, like say from composite to regular or vice versa, activation, inactive, suspension, all that also can be handled effectively in this particular version of Tally. Finally, the GST return effective date. We have experienced this a lot of times in GSTR, especially now when GSTR 2B has become a prime, detector, for our GST return input claims. So when when the return, your input matches with the GSTR 2B, you're entitled to claim. In those cases, there was always a mismatch between the GST return data vis-a-vis the Tally GSTR2 which was there. So that also has been effectively managed through this GST return effective date. We shall look into it. Right now, we will just look into the handling of the registration changes that are happening. So just imagine that from a regular to composition, there is a change in the registration, and immediately it will ask something known as an effective date. This effective date concept has come in the company's perspective also, and in transactions perspective also. So right now we're determining the effective date of this particular registration change from regular to composition. And the moment you do that, all returns which are applicable for the composition will be shown. So up to the date up to which regular registration is there, GSTR1 will be shown, and beyond which the returns applicable to composition scheme, those returns will be visible. So you will have both the returns visible at the same time, but when you see the applicability, automatically the applicability will fall between the dates where you have selected the return. So that is how it has been controlled. If you do a transaction beyond the date you have selected for your effective date, it will not fall in the previous return category. It will go and fall in the correct, say, composition. In this case, it will go fall in the composition return category. So that is about it. And the second category of change that can happen in a company perspective is the, just a second. Yeah. The second is the handling of the suspensions or active inactive, as we say. So that will happen in the same F11 features. I'll just go back. Yeah, it will happen in the same F11 features. The first category where we have the registration status. Again, the moment you change it to active or inactive, it'll ask you for the effective date, and the moment you accept it, say we have now changed it to inactive, and if you pass any voucher, like that, as in this case, for that very registration. So when we pass any voucher right there, the GST will not get calculated. That is how it is controlling. So, GST module itself in a way is getting disabled for that particular period. As you can see that, there is no GST calculation that is happening. So, the question of, GST getting calculated in the, during that period will not arise. Now, there will be a question in everyone's mind stating that, though it is inactive, we might have to pass the GST bills. It is inactive for a temporary portion of time. Yes, having said that, still as per the law, we are not supposed to, collect GST when your registration itself is not active. You might have to shift your bills on a, later date. You might have to pass a credit note and, repass entries in those cases. So when the moment you convert it to active and you pass any entry, you will find that the GST module has become activated again, and you will be able to pass with GST. So in the temporary period where your registration is not active, in that period, one can take a call whether to activate or not. So this particular aspect of saying enabling and disabling GST, this is going to be a great savior, because there are portions where your GST gets inactive, and especially in your GSTR1 when we are filing, the parties GST gets inactive, and in those cases, how do we handle it? I'll just get into the tally for just a minute and just cover a couple of things. So, the moment you say okay, it will ask you for your GST numbers. This is where the active inactive status happens. The moment you choose a status, it will automatically ask you for the effective date, and the moment you change that also, it will give you by default. Tally shows you 4 effective dates. One is the current date, the company entry date. The second is the last entry date. The third is today's, the system date, and the next next date is the next date, the subsequent date. These are the 4 default dates that it shows. Apart from that, you have an option to enter your own effective date. So these are the effective dates that it shows. Now, if at all you change from regular to composition, even then it'll ask you for an effective date. So in whatever change, the company takes into consideration, every change, it's recording with an effective date. That means it will not affect any transaction that happened before the said effective date. Yeah, so that has been taken care of seamlessly in the So that has been taken care of seamlessly in this particular release. So you don't have to worry about maintaining 2 different sets of data or maintaining 2 different sets of masters in in any case. Now, apart from that, okay. Apart from that, it'll ask you whether you want to create any other registration details. But yeah, reconciliation configuration. Now, this particular changes, this is more important when it comes to your reconciliations of GSTR1 as well as 2B. In case of GSTR1, it is suggested that this should not be used, because your GSTR1 is essentially your return, and it has to be exactly what you have billed your customers. But however, in case of GSTR2, where the supplier data comes into picture, there are a lot of times we have faced this issue of say the invoice number, there might be a prefix or a suffix, there might be some digits that are added, or say some special characters due to which the invoices do not match. We have faced this numerous number of times, no matter what tool, or even if you've used plain Excel, this issue has popped up every time. So to address that, Tally has come up with these 3 settings, wherein the first setting says use voucher number and date as supplier invoice number and date. Now, this particular issue is wherein you are maintaining your voucher number itself as the supplier's invoice number, as in you are recording the purchase invoice details in the voucher number itself instead of separately noting into supplier invoice number and date. In those cases, if that is the case, you please select this as yes. The moment you select this particular option as yes, all your voucher numbers entered will become your reconciliation selector. Second option, generally it is set to no, because we always enter the purchase invoice details in the supplier invoice number and date, and voucher number remains intact as per your own tally configuration. Ignore 0 if prefixed in supplier document number. Now, a lot of times we have actually noticed this, wherein the supplier invoice number will have, say, /001. Okay, when they file it, but when they are when they're giving the invoice, maybe the zeros are not there in the invoice copy, and vice versa. In those cases, how do we address that? Is what is this? So you have to just just ignore it so that your books maintained are exactly correct based on the invoice copy you have received. At the same time, reconciliation, the difference does not arise just due to minimal, say these mismatches, which are just in characters. The third one is the special characters, wherein hyphen, slash, and those things that come in between. So these three are there in the company settings. So this will work throughout. If you enable it here, it will work throughout all your invoices. So be careful when you are selecting these. Beyond that, just going beyond those items. Now these are the enhancements that they have done further, wherein they have done let's say GST calculation for material in, material out. This was earlier not there, and it used to be a lot of issue. I'm not saying it was but completely not there. It could be worked out, but right now they've given it on the face of it. Similarly, defining place of supply for inward transactions. Now, this was more important because the state and the place of supply might differ in certain transactions. But because due to this feature not being there, the claims were being made and then finally rejected by the department at the time of their say notice or those things. So that to avoid that, this has also been brought into picture. And the last one, the HSN override. Now this HSN thing we'll discuss further, but it is a boon. Like I would say it is both ways. But however, if regulated with security, this is a major relief in case of lot of transactions wherein every transaction might have an HSN change, especially in case of input transactions. In those cases, it's a great relief so that we don't have to create multiple masters just for a couple of transactions. So let us just look into this particular change of say the HSN and these details. Now this particular HSN related information, now they have bifurcated this between HSN and GST. Earlier it used to be the same under the same category, wherein you could not make the change other than one. So now in this case, what has happened is the change can be done HSN separately and your rate separately. The differentiation makes a lot of difference, because in cases where we want to maintain, say, rate wise, but HSN alone we want to enter, in case of just like this example of printing and stationery, wherein we would have multiple HSNs, but we want to maintain rate wise ledger, or we want to maintain multiple HSN, multiple rate ledgers. In either case, we can work it out, because the settings have been bifurcated, HSN separately and the rate separately. So in that case, this becomes pretty easy. Also, wherein we have these multiple rates, not just printing and stationery, a lot of expenses, say repairs, or say such expenses where there are multiple rates possible, say miscellaneous stationery, those kind of expenses, office expenses, and all of that. Earlier we had to create multiple ledgers and maintain them in separate accounts, because the HSN and rate would always differ, or will go and sit in the mismatches. So now in this case, then you can just create your HSNs so effortlessly, and you can just go to your tax analysis, and you'll find the entire Alt A is a shortcut for tax analysis, and you'll find the entire breakup HSN wise if entered correctly. The key here is to record correctly. However, If recorded correctly, the rate bifurcation and all works seamlessly. Again, the trick, the catch here is the recording has to be correct. So how can we do the recording? That has to happen, just a second, that has to happen, exactly, that can only be done by security. So you have to make sure your security is strong enough that it allows only what you want to allow for any particular accountant. And as a as a CA, and advising your clients, I would strongly suggest, please focus on security. I'm talking about this Alt-K company features security. This particular security features and these access settings that are there, say you provide your security. Yeah, please do enable this. This is out of topic for just 2 seconds, but this is very, very important in case of, as being a professional who are advising your clients. So, this particular settings, please do it. Alt K, it is in the you can also go to alter, or you can go to security features. I'll show it in alter itself because that is where you can do it. Please advise your clients, and it is a it takes some time to get the hang of it. You might have to try and test it, or you can take help of any professionals that do it. But security is very, very important, giving so much dynamic changes that have come into the software right now. This security features, it's a topic in itself, but I will just spend 5 minutes on this. Please enable this. If you don't find this option, it will be available in F12. Please say user access control yes. And if at all you want, say edit log or something, you can say yes. And you say control A, it is there in F12 features. The moment you say yes, you will get a username and password. This is your admin username and password. Please, make sure you remember it. And tally audit features. This is for especially for auditors. However, it can be used by accountants and the company as well. But more or less, it is being used by auditors, and I'm sure all of us are using it. If not, please start doing it right away. So this particular feature of disallowing opening in educational mode, generally please set it to no, because you don't want your data to get some issues. So please make sure that it is set to no. Now, when the moment you say this, you enable this, you will find certain options are getting enabled. User roles and password. I'm sure all of us would have seen it, but I'm also doubly sure that we are not using it to its maximum potential. And this particular setting of say security is a vertical in itself that can be taken up, because we have something called in Companies Act is also, and in other laws also, we have something called internal financial control. So you can, if this is strong enough, your internal financial control, one aspect is right in place. So you can obviously check this particular setting and comment on the internal financial control, at least in the transaction perspective or the financial accounting perspective. So, this would give you a lot of answers to your questions, say wrong accounting and mishandling of accounts by different parties, unauthorized access, all that could be checked in with this particular features. Beyond which, I just want to show one last thing: user roles. In this, there have been added features that have come in right from the previous release itself. Is not in 3.0. It has come in 2.1 and earlier itself. But these are very, very useful features, which is over here: override tax details. Allowed to override tax details. If you set this to no, the accountant, no matter how much he tries, he'll not be able to override. So like this, there are a lot of changes that can be done, and trust me, it is a big savior when it comes to accountants who don't understand, and you have to deal with such people, and it is a great relief in those cases. Let us just proceed with the topic now. So now this is where you can look into your GST rate setup. I will take you through this. I'm playing a video right now, but I will take you through this in the actual tally as well. This particular place in GST utilities is where you can see the GST rate setup. You can see master wise, as in you can see group wise, you can see item wise, and you can actually know the source from which your particular settings is coming. So with this particular report, if you just export it, you'll come to know, where exactly your audit price point is. Say now, for example, in this case, remaining all are coming from either group or something. You just check the group and it's done. But only, just a second. Yeah, in this case, if you see, the other items are all coming from, say, from the company or the stock group. But there are two items which say defined in stock item. Now, these are the press points. This might have errors. Apart from that, I don't think other things should have errors. Yeah, so that is what. Yeah, so this would give you a start point, how you can start your audit. Now, the items which are already, done based on a particular grouping which has happened, all you need to check is the group classification, and if it's right, you don't have to see beyond that. Probably just check a couple of entries and you can proceed with your audit for other things. But where it's defined in the stock item, you might have to look into the entries, at least a sample of them, and see. I'm talking here in the accounting perspective also, and I'm talking at the same time in the auditing perspective, because we are right now, even if this is not happening, we are in the audit. Verge as well. So this would be a great boon when it comes. You can now be rest assured that these are the ledgers I need to be, placing focus on. So this would be a great capability that you can tap into. In this, I'll just quickly move forward. Yeah, so you can see for both separately for HSN as well as for the rate setup. As we said, it has been bifurcated now. It's not kept to the same setup. Yeah. So we'll just address a couple of things before we just move into the returns. Before we start, I just want to take you through the vouchers. I'm sure it will come later as well, but not take you through the vouchers. I'm sorry, the masters. So we'll just go to alter master ledger. Let us just go to any party ledger for the time being. And if you see, the screen is more or less the same. There's not much change. Just apart from, say now the registration is go to another party. I'm just making this a Indian party so that we get the registration types that are there. Now, if you see, there are three kinds of registration. Regular, let me just accept it. Now I'm going to the same party, and now I'm changing the registration type, say, to unregistered. The moment I change it to unregistered, it'll ask me for the effective date again over here. So at the moment I say that from this date registration is not applicable, it'll go and sit into B2C. We have a recorded screen for this also. However, let me just set a date. I'll go to a party where we have transactions. So let me just quickly go to display day book. Let me see what transactions we have. Is Technoplan. So Dhanlakshmi home appliance. Yeah, we have Dhanlakshmi home appliances. So I'm just gonna go to this particular party and say that it is a unregistered party. Remove the GST number and it'll ask me for an effective date. I'll say from 1st July, or say from 31st May 22. It's an unregistered party. Okay. I'm going to just accept this transaction. Now let me see if we have any transactions beyond 50 and Lakshmi. Yes. I'm just going to create a transaction on say 1st or 31st May and Lakshmi. So if you go to more details in the ledger, you'll be able to see from which date and which date what has happened. So from this date onwards, it is a unregistered party. I'm going to still accept it and say okay. And I just accept this transaction. Okay, on 31st May. Now, when we go to the GSTR1 return, please use GoTo. I have stopped using the regular flow of display and statutory reports and say GSTR1. We can directly use the GoTo in this case. I'm just gonna I knew it will come and sit here because when we were recording the transaction, the detail that it took was Dhanlakshmi registered party. The reason was, I'll tell you why this happens. Because I straight away went and looked into uncertain transaction. This is major issue that happens in every transaction. What happens is I easily, quickly, because Dhanlakshmi was already there, I quickly did Alt F2, Alt 2, that is nothing but duplicate the transaction, immediately change the date, made changes over here, but we failed to check this, that what happens when we do Alt 2, it literally duplicates the previous voucher. So whatever details have been entered earlier, it picks up those details, and because of which mismatches are occur. How to get rid of this is, you get into the transaction. You can advise your clients also on this, and probably you're also doing this in your own office maybe. So how to get rid of this is get into the party account. Okay, all you need to do is change the party details once. The moment you change the party details, the correct details will get updated. Now in this case, if you just see the date is 29th May. So if I choose Dhanlakshmi, okay, it'll immediately show regular. You can check this up how, just change it. Just go back and change the party details. Whenever you're duplicating an invoice, there's no harm in duplicating the invoice. You just need to know how to, work it around it. And this is how you work around it. Just change the party details once. If you're changing the name, it will immediately ask you whether you want to change update the details. Over here, if you say yes, it will automatically update. But in case where the change is within the same party, this particular, setting does not come back. They don't ask this. So in that case, the details might differ, and because of which you might have a mismatch, and it might sit in your uncertain transaction. Okay, so if you just proceed with the transaction, and it'll save it over here, but it's going to show an uncertain transaction in your GSTR1 report. Yeah. So over here, it's sitting and sitting under this particular details. All I need to do is just I'm just changing the party details. I'm going to accept it, and it's going to vanish from here. And now let us just see what happens inside the GST. If you see Dhanlakshmi and Dhanlakshmi home appliances, these particular invoices say before 31st May, which is the date we set for unregistered. Yeah, so before that date, all the invoices are coming and falling under B2B. Now let us just go see B2C. Choice. Now, if you see the 31st May alone has, come and, correctly sat under the B2C category. So this effective date works really, fine, and it actually is pretty effective in case of all these registration hassles that we have to do. So, you don't have to create multiple masters anymore to, just make sure the registration happens. Despite that, we've known the number of confusions that used to happen. Now, beyond that, I'd like to show you the invoice, the return, the return look that has been changed. Earlier, we used to find only a couple of details, and the return options also never used to update themselves. And all the entries used to sit under either B2B, or the amendments never used to come into the light. Now, every change you do, okay, every change you do, it will come and show in the respective table. It is exactly the return view which we find in the portal, exact return view replicated over here, and that also again it has been replicated, exactly how the tables are. So if you see B2B and say reverse chart supplies, if at all there are any, and B2C large credit note, debit note. Beyond that, amendments. If you make any amendment in the subsequent period, in this case there is an amendment. How does amendment come into picture? Imagine you have completed the return and you're ready to export. Okay, the moment you export the GST return, it'll ask you that these are the entries that are pending to export and all of those details. Once you have cleared all of this, okay, now since this is all registration, let me just go to one registration. Say, okay, now I'm going to export this GST return, and it says you want to export. The moment you say export, the moment you say export, this particular return will get exported. Once it is exported, okay, if you make any change after the return has been exported, this particular, portions will start getting affected. Now in this thing, the 3 bills were ready for export, 2 bills out of which have not been exported. The reason could be the entries have been made, later, okay, and modified in books after export. So once you have exported the return and you have modified something, it will show over here. For this, again, you will have to set in, set a GST effective date, and it will go and fall, there, and you can, upload it in the subsequent return. Now, beyond that, there is something called amendments marked for future return. Now, this particular entry, there was some, change that was done. Okay, which has to be amended. Okay, and it will go and fall under B2BA. But it will, since May month, we don't have an option to revise returns in GSTR1. All the amendments that happen will go and fall under, the next period, which is in the next subsequent return that we file. Similarly, for deletion, it works the same way. If you delete any entry, say now there are 4 entries here. Even beyond this, if I delete an entry, it will go and sit under mark for deletion. Okay, when we file the next month's return, all these information will also flow into the return details. So, you modify any entry, it will go and sit under modified after export, and we have to just push it to the next, set the GST effective date. I'll go and show it in June month's return. You can check over here. It will show that entry what we had, changed. It will go and sit into the amendment, and it automatically, when we export the return, the entry will show in the return, provided all these uncertain transactions. I'm very sorry that yeah. So all the uncertain transactions will have to be cleared. Okay. Beyond that, something which all of us miss out is the exception report, voucher accepted as valid. Please do check this in case your accountants are not very well versed with the accounting, or they're not they're not very good with handling these transactions. Please do check this particular exception report, voucher accepted as valid. A lot of times the rate issues and those changes where they have the permission to override tax details, all they have to do is just override, and all the transactions will go and sit. It might not be right, the rates might be different, the values might be different. All that information you'll find it here. Transaction accepted as is. As of now, there is nothing. I'll just create a entry. Let me just go to uncertain transaction, and I'll create a mismatch to just show. And this is not new to 3.2. It has been there, but I'm sure a lot of us have not even looked into it. Yeah. So the rate in this case is 28%. We can check over here. The rate is 28%. I'm going to change this rate and make it it's coming and falling here. This, I think this was the entry. Yeah, this was the entry, and they say mismatch between expected tax rate and yeah. So this is the entry. It says now I have an option called accept as is. I'm gonna just accept it. It will come and fall in the return. So if we just come in the return and check, this entry will be right there. This is what entry I use. Just give me a second. I think it's good to see entry. Not an issue. Control J accepted as valid. Okay, the return has been signed. Okay. I'll just change the period of this entry so that we can just work on it. Let's change the period so that it comes in the next month's return. I am deliberately doing some errors so that we can just work on it. So now this entry right here, I have an option to accept it. Okay. So what the accountant does, he's not able to sort it at all. So what he did, he just accepted and left it. So the moment he accepted the entry, again, I did not check this. The moment he accepted the entry, just a second, there's some glitch that is happening in my data. All All right. Let us not waste time in this. I will just get back to this particular glitch that is happening. There is some issue with the database since they've used it multiple times. The return has been marked as signed. Not able to undo it. Any which ways, this particular detail is coming and falling over here. This particular detail is coming and falling over here because it is not exported. I'll just change the status probably. Yeah, I'm just changing the status to exported in this case. So this particular entry will come and show you in the return, correctly. But actually, if you just calculate manually and say 21,300 into 14%, okay, it is not 1917 but 2982. But if it's accepted as is, it is going to sit and show. Where can you see that difference is right here in the exception report, and it will exactly show you where the error is. So please do look into it, and if there are lesser things, please undo the except as is. It'll go and fall into uncertain transaction, and you can make your corrections later. Please do look into it, and right now with the multiple options and multiple errors, earlier we used to just get 1-2 error options and it was very difficult to find out where the error was, but now the wordings have been changed and they give exact what is the error, right? Like in this case it says exactly expected tax amount and modified tax amount transaction, wherein it says that the tax amount was modified. In other cases wherein there might be point differences you might ignore, but in cases like this is a classic case where we have seen in a lot of our issues, and all of these things you'll find in the exception reports. So please do look into it before you are in case of filing the report or return, or in case you're auditing also. In case of GST audit per se is very, very important. Even in case of your income tax audit, you might have to look into this aspect, okay, because this is your revenue that could be impacted. Now beyond that, there is a view possibility wherein you have a nature view, which we already knew earlier, nothing too great about it. However, the rate-wise bifurcation of, say, registered, unregistered, that information, let me just change the return period, you will be able to appreciate this better. Okay, earlier all we could get was rate-wise. We could not get the bifurcation as to how much is rate-wise registered, how much is rate-wise, say, consumer, that is B2C, how much is nil rated, again, say, B2B, B2C, how much is interstate tax supplies that are B2B and B2C specifically, how much exports, again, rate-wise. This bifurcation was not available in the earlier version. Now you get this completely, and this is what we need for filing GSTR 9 annual computation, correct? So this is what we need. This table is exactly what we need. If completely done in the annual computation also, you'll find this. And this not only comes for GSTR 1, if you go to 3B and do this nature-wise report, you're going to get for input as well. So, this is a great capability that has come into the return. Let's just move ahead. So we have gone into returns already, but let us just do a couple of inward now. We were focusing on outward so far. Now GSTR 2A, 2B, whether to match 2A or 2B, it's a big question, because 2B is the basis on which we are supposed to claim input. However, still last year 2A was the one based on which, you know, GSTR annual computation, GSTR 9 was getting auto-populated. So whether to follow 2B or 2A, according to me, both we need to do. 2A is entire, you know, claims that are made for that particular year, which includes claims made in the next year as well, which is for that year. Say for 22-23, if you're doing 2A reconciliation, that means the transactions pertaining to 22-23 will fall part of 2A. I'm sure all of us know, but you know, whether this year how it's going to be for 9, we'll have to you know, wait and see what is the auto-populated data. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, 2A is the one which is going to show in your GSTR 9 because that is the input pertaining to that year. Probably we claimed it in the subsequent year, which we're going to show it in table say 9 or 8, wherein we're going to show that it's claimed in the subsequent period. That we might have to do. But you know, 2A is what they're going to show in the 9 reconciliation. 2B, when it comes, that is for the claim availment. So if we are entitled to claim only when it comes in 2, we are entitled to claim only when it comes in 2B. So both are important. I would say please do the reconciliation for both, for at least while filing your 3B. You might not want to do it on a monthly basis. Monthly basis you can do 2B, but at least year end you might have to do 2A. Okay, we'll just move beyond. So the reconciliation is right under same display, you know, statutory reports, GSTR2 reconciliation. Okay, wherein you can choose the registration and import the GSTR2A that we export from the, we download from the portal. Okay, so the moment you select the return, it will automatically show you the returns that are there under that category. The moment you accept it, it'll give you a detail of how many transactions were processed and how many transactions have been imported. So if there is any mismatch, you can check what transaction didn't get imported. Now it will show you 2 lines. One will be in black and one will be in blue. Blue is the line of 2A. Okay, and again when you get inside, it will show you different categories. Again, it will show you mismatch. What is the kind of mismatch, and you know why it is not matching. Now we were discussing 3 kinds of you know, options in F11 features. We're going to see what exactly that is. All your reconcile transactions will go and sit in one place. Now, if you see this particular case, 23rd May, this is also 23rd May. Okay, Ingens Auto. If you see, the difference is only the hyphen. The third option, which we said special characters in the additional configuration, that if we set to yes, it will automatically, you know, any change you do in the return in your settings, every change will ask for an effective date, and it is going to go sit in the GST history. Okay, control I, more details, history, it is going to go sit over there. Now, if you see, it is been automatically matched. Now, the second category we were discussing about was the 0 prefixes. Okay, like in this case, which we saw. In that case, again, the same place F11 features. If you don't get this option, go to, you know, for more details, and you know, you can go to reconciliation configurations. In that case, again, if you set the effective date correctly, it will go and match it. Okay. Now there is one more category, okay, wherein the invoice, say the number has a prefix or a suffix other than 0. Like in this case, now this particular item, this particular issue can be sorted only in the voucher or the master configuration. This is master specific and not company specific. Then go to the master and again go to more details. If you don't find this, get into more details, and you can do this ignore prefix and suffix in document number. Just note the prefix. This is in case where it's a continuous issue wherein you're finding this prefix being put into the invoice while uploading. However, when given to you, this was not being done. The moment you do this, your invoice accounting happens based on the invoice copy rightly as you should do, but the reconciliation will consider the prefix or the suffix that is being uploaded by the supplier. Because we've tried this a lot of times and we talk to the suppliers also asking them to change, but however they are not doing that because that is how their upload is happening, and it is creating a lot of hassle. Because of that, input claim, some people are saying that the invoice number is not matching, so input is not available, and so on and so forth. Now this issue will sort your issue, and it will not create multiple mismatches. So that sorts the issue. The fourth category is wherein the dates do not match. These are the major issues that we have, wherein the dates do not match, or say the date is different. That you can just find out which is the correct date and accordingly make the change in the transaction. Or if there is a change in the supplier detail, you might have to contact them. In that case, what you can do, you can set an effective date and push the transaction beyond the particular date. Okay. So that is about it. And the fifth category is wherein there is a mismatch due to invoice numbering difference, wherein you can just manually infer and change it. Okay. And in this final category, wherein all the details are matching, but for the decimal difference, in that case, you can manually set a GST status and reconcile it. It'll go and sit in a separate. Generally, it is under system inferred category. That's the default one. But if you change it, it will come and sit under reconciled manually. So again, what has been reconciled automatically and what has been reconciled manually, you will again be able to comment on this, wherein you will have you might not have any issues. So you can just you might have to just check the manually reconciled transactions. So even if an accountant does it, all you have to, your checking also becomes very effortless in that case, and you can do so. Yeah. So this is about the reconciliation. Now this is about 2A. 2B again is more or less the same. Here 2B reconciliation. To be reconciliation, we're gonna this was the imported data. I mean, I have just imported the return from this particular registration. Okay, I have already imported, but if I'm going to re-import, it's not going to duplicate the transaction. It's just going to append it. show me, and if I accept it, we're going to import the transactions. There were 57 transactions that were processed and 57 to go over here also. Again, every category wise it imports, and it gives. You can check detail. Again, the shortcut is exactly the same, Alt F1, or you can just click here and say detailed or condensed. Okay. Now it clearly shows how many are available in portal, how many are available only in books. Okay, whether there is a mismatch in return period, and all, so on and so forth. What you can just do is check the invoice entry. Okay, make it. You can go one by one, check the entries, make your corrections. Now this is mismatch in return period, so might be there is an error in the accounting, or say you received the bill later but you forgot to make this change. Yeah, a lot of time this happens. Those categories and all, you can change this particular setting. Yeah, so you can make those changes. Now this particular entry is falling in September because we have accounted it in September, and it's falling in say August. The entry date is in August. So all you can do is just set the effective date, say to 1st September, and it will go and fall in September month. Yeah. So you can do that and make your corrections accordingly. Now in this case, if you see the account, the voucher number is the issue. Yeah, you go inside and check. That to normally. So there are 3 options that it says: update master and GST status and vouchers. So if we just do that, and reconcile this, it will automatically get reconciled. Okay. So you can reconcile it as in how you find it. So since there were a lot of changes that were done, and the dates might not be matching, this particular issue is coming. This is actually done because the voucher number has been taken instead of the supplier invoice number. Because if you just look into it, supplier invoice number is right, and that is what is matching over here. But due to this voucher number taken into picture, this particular error is popping up. So all those kind of errors, once reconciled, your GSTR 2B and your books will show as reconciled. Whatever is not, say moving, it'll come and fall under other period if you just set the effective date. In this case, we just set the effective date to be on 1st September. Corresponding in the 2B entry also comes and falls together. Okay, it's not just the return, the books value. Even the return corresponding entry falls again in the next period, and the moment you accept it in the next period, it is going to show it in your 2B. Okay, so if we would have noticed, when I was doing the reconciliation, when I was setting the effective date, there's an option called set effective date, right? So when I was doing the effective date, it asked me whether you, if it does not ask, please click on F12. Okay, I might be going a little fast. Please put your queries in the chat box. However, I will, take it up again if you have any doubts. But if you don't get certain features, please click on F12 and you'll get it. Now it's asking the effective date for each of the returns. Okay, it's asking for 2A, 2B, and 3B. Why it is asking for 3 different returns? It's because for 2B, it might be matching in this period. 3B, you might not have claimed it. Okay, you might not have claimed it in September also. Say you're claiming it in October. So it might be, there might be a slight mismatch. So it is asking you 3 different effective dates. Okay, so that your returns match exactly as per your books and your portal. Okay, because earlier there used to be a lot of mismatches that was happening. So that is the reason it is asking. Now there is one more details. Show document number, document date. Okay, this is the document number and date, which is why these issues are happening. Now beyond that, there is something called GST portal view. Now wherever you see these transactions, wherein this is the transactions as per the portal, there's something called portal view. Okay, now this is the transaction. Whatever you see in blue color is the portal view of the invoice. Okay, as in what was filed by your supplier. We will be able to appreciate this better if I get into a transaction, okay, a reconciled transaction probably. So these are the reconciled transactions. Just gets into one of these. Now I will just change this. I open this related reports, okay, and get portal view. Now there is an option called show portal view. Now this is what exactly it has been filed in the return. If at all there is any mismatch, you will be able to easily check it. So this is the view you can see in the invoice itself once the GSTR 2B is imported inside. So if there are any such small changes, you can reconcile them manually. The system will reconcile whatever it can reconcile, and whatever is not getting reconciled, you can set an effective date and push it to the next period. With this thing, your GSTR 2B and books will, should be reconciled ideally, and in every category for that matter. And if there are any invoices that are not getting reconciled, you can reconcile them manually. Once reconciled, okay, your values will automatically be auto-populated in the GSTR 3B return. Okay, it will show you move to other periods. Now this is where we set the effective date for this transaction. We had set it to be 1st September. And this also in that matter, probably the return was not filed. And these are the uncertain transaction with mismatches. This was the entry. You might have some mismatch in it. So once all this has been cleared and you have been you've done it, you've done all the changes and required setting. Even from here, even from 2B, you can move your entries. You can set an effective date from here. You can set an effective date from the voucher also. You can set it from the 2B screen also and 3B screen also. So once all these effective dates have been rightly moved, there is one more aspect that is there, which is the stat adjustment. Okay, in case of say 17.5 reversals, or say ineligible claim reversal, or say reversal due to non-payment of non-payment to the supplier within 6 months. All those reversals can happen through stat adjustment, which has been there in earlier versions also. However, this particular version, the moment you select the right stat adjustment, say ineligible credit, if you say yes, this particular sales technology 1,000 rupees was ineligible against this entry, and you just pass an entry like that. Okay. Just see. So, if there are any such entries that are, say ineligible due to any of the reasons, now this particular case, it says that input tax is reversed under 17.5. That means it was ineligible due to, let's say rules. So those categories, the moment you select the right category, and every category has their own settings, please look into this. Once it is done, it will come and fall exactly at the right column. And once exported, the same can be uploaded. Yes. Yes, ma'am. I will break here, right here. Do we have any questions? I'm sure we will do. Do we have any questions we can take up?
The questions which were there, I think Abbasji has already answered. Currently, we don't see any questions.
All right. Okay. So this is about the returns. Actually, there is more to this, but we do have some time constraints, and I have tried to cover every possibility that could, come into it. Especially in case of 3B, please make sure that you use this effective date to push your transactions in the right period, so that your 3B matches exactly with your say your portal 3B. Because earlier there used to be a lot of differences because of the timing issues and the reversals that were not happening. And also the stat adjustment is a great feature which you can use, majorly in case of say reversal of input tax, wherein you have non-payment to supplier, this is rule 37.2, or you have say just ineligible credit, will go on 17.5. Others alone, I think it goes and falls under this particular others column, which has to be tested, which I have not personally tested. However, apart from that, wherever you use the adjustment, if you use the entry correctly, it goes and falls into the right section where it has to be, reported, and which will again, save you time and deciding where it has to go. So if you're accounting, again, I'm pressing on the fact where the accounting is perfect, this will automatically work. Let us just go beyond. In GSTR 1, we had already seen this, but however, I'd like to just proceed on this. Just want to show this. Deleting transaction after export. Once you do that, I showed you, it will go and show, it will go and fall under. Okay. It will go and fall under mark for deletion, which we already saw. However, how to export this particular information into the return, how it goes and falls into the return, is what we were yet to see. When we export, it will show as a delete entry. So when in the portal, automatically this entry will go and update itself as delete. So this one thing we had already discussed, but however, I thought it would be better to just recapture it once. This is something which we did not see at that time. So, when you're exporting, you can export with the status and it'll come as a JSON file. And once that is uploaded into the portal, it will show you exactly, it will be updated exactly into the respective periods GSTR 1. This is regarding signing of returns, which we have not yet discussed. So once your exporting is over and your portal has been the return has been signed in the portal, you can mark it as signed. Okay, now in the first period, you might have to mark the previous returns also as signed. So once you sign this, it is prompting that there are uncertain transactions you want to continue. You still want to continue. In that case, if you continue, all the transactions that you are going to, say, change or modify after the signing will all fall in the next period. Okay, you make any change after that, all the transactions will go and fall in the subsequent period. Now, undoing the signature. So this sign is nothing but what's if you have already filed and submitted your return in the portal. This is just to mark that, because the the uploading does not happen automatically in the portal. We need to download the JSON and export it into the portal. So the automatic uploading is not happening. So Tally, we have to manually enter that yes, it has been signed now. So once that our return has been signed, all the amendments and whatever changes we do will fall as amendment in the subsequent period. So how do we handle the amendments is next. So if you see in this particular case, I had also shown this particular aspect also, wherein the amendment, wherein we made modification to the return, and in the subsequent period it was standing under B2BA. There is nothing but the amendment. In this case, if you just look into it, we are just modifying an entry, and once the modification is done, it will move away from this particular return and will go and stand under the, if the changes have happened correctly, you have to just set an effective date again. To set the effective date for the return as well as you have to set it for GSTR 3B as well. Again, if you don't get this bifurcation, please go to F12 and say I want separate returns. I'll go and sit in amendments marked for future returns. By default, also if you make change, it will automatically fall in December. But if at all it requires a change, it will call for it and say that December month return, it will show as an amendment category, amended B2B9. The deleting of transaction we'd already seen. So I'm going to just skip quickly to the entry, to the final this thing. After signing, if it's deleted, it has to move into the next period. So you have to set an effective date again, so that it moves it. The Tally software knows that you have to take this entry into consideration in the subsequent period as well. When you go to the subsequent period, you will be able to see that transaction also sitting right there included from return. Yeah. So this is about the returns per se. So as I told, you have to do your reconciliation of both. Now we move ahead to the payment gateway, which which I'm going to hand over to my product expert of Tally. So are you available?
Yeah, G Komal.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Take over.
Yeah. So I'll share my screen. Just confirm when it's visible. Is it visible?
Yes, Abbas.
Okay. So payment request is the feature name in Tally Prime release 3.0. Now, usually we saw this kind of a concern from the customer when they want to request for the payment. The obvious reasons get from the party is I don't know your bank account number, I don't know which account I need to send the money and all that. So in Tally Prime 3.0, what we have done is we have come up with a payment request behavior where you can after getting a registration with the payment gateway agency, you can share the link for the payment along with your invoices. So with each invoices, not only link, you can also send the QR code which user can easily scan, and after scanning, he can able to do the payment to your bank account. How to do the setup for that? The first thing first, what you have to do is you have to go in F11, and in F11 under others, you'll find this option: enable payment request to share payment link and QR code. Just say yes to this. Now what I have done is I have created two.
Abbasji, can you be a little louder? We have a comment that the volume is too low.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah, much better. Yes.
Okay. Sorry for that. So should I repeat what I've said earlier? Okay, let me repeat what I've said. So payment request is a feature which is provided in Tally Prime 3.0. It is about giving a link and the QR code along with the invoices to the person from whom you are expecting a payment. So the easiness with which today we are doing shopping by just scanning the QR code and doing the payment, that easiness is brought in even into the frame of B2B. Now, how to go about it? You just have to go in F11, enable this option, request payment QR code. When you say yes for that, what I've done, I've created two merchant profiles over here. You can also create one if you want. Now in merchant profile, now this merchant profile you can create by contacting the merchant which we are supporting. So currently we are supporting two merchants, that is a payment gateway provider. One is PayU, another is Razorpay. PayU and Razorpay, you can get in touch with them. So they will provide you something called as merchant ID. Now along with merchant ID, you have to provide this information. It's a one-time setup, and then update this information. If you want to create one more, you can do that. So first I will show you how to do it through the payment gateway. And if you don't have that, for that also Tally has a solution. So we'll see that afterwards. So I have created this merchant profile. Now what I'll do is, I already have some transactions. So suppose I'm having these many sales transactions. Now I'll open one of the sales transaction. Okay. Now when you go for Control P, you will not find any in preview. I'm not having any QR code or anything generated for this particular payment. So what I'll do is I will select this transaction for which I want to generate a payment request link and QR code, and I'll go in exchange. See, there is a menu called exchange. Click on that. It will ask you, there is an option called generate payment link or QR code. Just go there and just say whether you want to do it for current or others. So currently, whatever I've selected, I can go for that current. Now it will ask me for mobile number and email ID for that particular person whom I'm selecting this. So I'll give some numbers. Now this will send the SMS to the vendor. So I'm just giving the right one. Okay, and the email ID. So I'm just giving some email ID because it is validating email IDs. And now once you accept it, do you want to save the payment link and in the voucher? So yes, I want to save it. So automatically it will generate a payment link and one QR code, and it will get added in the voucher. So now we'll see how it is got added. Now I'll go in this voucher, Control P for printing. I'll go in the configuration to configure this payment method. Now here, see, payment method we have already set. Okay, what you want to print on the invoice? Do you want to print only link? Do you want to print only QR code, or you want to print both? I want to print both. See in the preview, I can able to see the QR code, that is payment request link, and the QR code also. Just by scanning this, user will be able to easily get the payment, the details of you along with the amount. He just have to pay. Now in that pay also, there is a behavior where he can do the partial payment. It's not always a full payment. He can also choose, out of this money, I may want to pay only partially. That also you can do. Okay. So this is how you can do the payment request. Now this I have shown you through a already created vouchers. However, the same thing can be done while saving the voucher also. So you just have to do one thing. You just have to go in the alteration of the voucher type. Say, I want to alter sales. And in that particular voucher type, you have to enable this option. Generate payment link QR code after saving voucher. If this option is set to yes, while saving the voucher itself, Tally will ask you for the question whether you want to generate the payment link or not. And once you say yes, it will generate the QR code and payment links. Now this is about creating the payment link by contacting the payment gateway. What if a user don't have any payment gateway? For that also, Tally has a solution. What you can do is you can set up your UPI ID also. The way usually we do it, the normal payment while buying grocery or anything, we all have a UPI ID. So that also you can configure simply. You have to set up that under this. The way I have set up here, Suresh profile UPI ID. You have to just select the type as UPI, provide your UPI ID, give the name, and then save this. Now, once you save this, this is a UPI related. So definitely you can, it will generate only the QR code. So now I'm going in any of the voucher. So suppose I'm having this voucher, I'll select it. I'll go in exchange, QR code, sorry, exchange, current, again, mobile number and detail. Before that, you have to just change the profile from Suresh to Suresh UPI, so that UPI payment can be set there. Now, once you accept this, what will happen? The QR code for the UPI payment will get added to your voucher. Let's see. Now I can open this particular transaction. Control P, configure, payment method, QR code, preview. The QR code is printed. So not only through contacting the payment gateway and getting a merchant ID, if somebody or any customer who don't have the merchant ID also, they can also go ahead and set up their UPI for doing this payment. Now, one thing which also you can do is not only for transactions. Say suppose you want to generate a payment link for some advances where the voucher is not there. So even that is also possible. But the only thing is that is possible only through the payment gateway. It cannot be done through the UPI because UPI need a transaction because it will store only the QR code, which require a transaction. But through other method of payment, you can also generate a other payment. For example, rather than going for current, you can say other. Now this, what I want is from a particular party, I'm expecting or I want to ask some payment. So say suppose I said Samir and Co. I need some. Wait. So this I need to change from UPI to payment gateway. I have to provide the number, the mobile number, and the email ID. And the amount. So what I want is I want 10,000 rupees from Samir as an advance for which I don't have any transaction tally, but I want to generate a QR code for it. So the moment you say yes, what will happen to that particular person with the mobile number and the email ID, the payment link will be sent. So you can receive the payment without having a transaction in tally, but for that you have to use the payment mode other than UPI. And all this SMS which is going across your system, it is through the gateway provider, the payment gateway provider. Those people are taking care of this SMS cycle. So, for example, whatever mobile number I've given my mobile number. So I will not be able to show you that message which I have received, or see, I'll show you how it looks like. If is my screen visible, Komal?
My screen is visible.
Matlab the camera is on, right?
हाँ.
I don't know, but if I'll show my mobile here, is it readable?
नहीं दिखेगा, sir.
नहीं
The
दिखेगा.
light reflection will be too much.
Yeah. So the fact is, the moment you give the mobile number and email ID, the link will be sent to your mobile number and email ID. Just a minute, let me check. I got a mail here. So is my screen visible? I think my mail screen is not visible, right? Email screen.
अभी tally screen ही दिख रहा है बस.
एक second. I'll share this screen also. See, this is the mail which I have received. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Mail. See, a payment request by Tally Solution Private Limited. The mobile number, the email address, and the amount asked for. So if you click on proceed to pay, it will open the Razor Pay option and it will allow you to do the payment. So such a simplest thing for the people. See, now here I was talking about how you want to do the payment, right? So it's a pay in full, or make a part payment. That also you can choose. And how much part payment you want to give, that is also possible. Okay. Is this screen visible? I don't think so. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Proceed to pay वाला दिख रहा है. Yes.
दिख रहा है ना? Okay. So this is how you do the payment request. All the options, matlab we try to make sure not only the people who can contact the merchant and see the avail the merchant ID, even those people who can't able to do it, we are also providing them with the support through the UPI. Yeah. Any questions on this? So nevertheless, if you have any queries, you can just paste your queries in your Q&A. We can answer them during the Q&A sessions. That's it from the payment request. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm sharing my screen again. Yeah, so as sir had discussed, my screen is visible, right? So as sir had discussed that payments can happen and create the merchant profile. You can do payments. You can generate the payment link from invoice and so on and so forth. Apart from that, you can also set expiry dates for your for the payment link that you generate. That also can be done. And apart from that, it comes to our next topic. You can also filter via the link or code. Okay, so the topic that we have next is the report filters that have come in. The powerful report filters that are there. It's pretty dynamic, and when combined with saved views, it becomes pretty strong, especially for us chartered accountants, because we need to generate a lot of reports when we do our audits. Plus, when we are preparing our audit reports, we need a lot of working papers and the reconciliation that take a lot of time in Excel when we are exporting and preparing. But when we use this report filters and saved view specifically, we can create a lot of our working papers just in a click of a button. Okay, a couple of keys and we are good to go. And all we need to do is save the views, and you can have these reports generated for all your companies. So do it once and just generate for all your companies in just a couple of minutes. Now, there are three kinds of report filters that are available in Tally. Presently, earlier there was only one report filter, all F12. It was very complicated because you had to know exactly what, how, and how you were supposed to use it. But in case of this new Tally 3.0, your report filters have become pretty simplified. You can make it complex also. You have an option to make it complex. If you're good with simple filters, you can take it up a notch and make it complex. So you have the flexibility to choose how you want your filters and how much you want to use it. And there are multiple reports, if I'm not wrong, more than 100 reports that are available. And that many reports you can generate. Whether useful, not useful, it's up to your discretion. But there are so many reports that you can generate and so many filters that you can apply and get your data. Okay, there is one more additional capability that has been added, wherein you can choose, to not choose anything. As in, you just say, I want to search something, and it's like finding a needle from the haystack. Okay, you have the option to, not choose anything. So that is also a great feature, wherein you just have to say, I'm searching for this. You search and give me from wherever. I don't know. You just tell me that this is available, and it will search throughout your transaction, where it might be in the ledger name, it might be in the item name, it might be in the batch name, or it might be in the, say, the tracking ID, or it might be in the narration or bill-wise reference, wherever, and look for you and give it to. So that kind of feature has also been brought into. And also one more additional additional boon is that earlier we had to remember the master. In case you are looking for a ledger, you had to remember the exact spelling, because if anything goes wrong, your filter will not work, and later you realize that, oh, this was the mistake. But now that also has been done with, because you get a list of the masters, so you don't have to remember. All you need to do is select. So that is also a great advantage that has come into the features. Now let me just get into the daybook. Okay. I'm just getting into daybook, and we'll just see what are the filters that are available. There are three kinds of filters. One is the basic. This is the basic filter. Okay, I'm just going to say I want to apply whatever field. Now this can be converted field wise, or I just say I want to look for my name. Okay. So this is where these are all the entries where my name is available. So now if you just see, in this particular entry, my name is available in the narration. In this particular entry, my name is available in the reference. Okay, bill-wise reference. In this particular entry, it is available in the, let's see where it's available. It's available in the batch number. Okay, so I mean, it looks into every field and just gives it. So if you do not remember where it was kept, where you have saved your how you have maintained it, all you know is some number, or say some just a basic detail of something. In that cases, this will be a pretty good filter, wherein you do not know where you're looking. Okay? You just know what you're looking for, but you do not exactly know where you're looking. So this is one kind of filter, which is a very basic filter. Now, if I want to add up to this filter, I can go into something called multi-filter. Now, it said any field. I will say no, I want only in narration. Okay, narration containing Monica. Now, narration, you will not get a list. However, and voucher type, name containing a payment. Okay. So now this is the only entry wherein the name is Monica is mentioned in the narration. At the same time, the voucher type is payment. This is your multi-filter, what we used to do earlier. But if you just see, the list comes into a ledger name containing Okay, and you can find the entries. This is about multi-filter. Now, when we talk about, there is another one. Now, if you want, this is the simplest method. Now, you want to take it up a notch. Okay, let me just remove the filter. Once cleared, all you need to do how you used to do earlier, escape, and the filter is out. Now, if you want to take it up a notch, we can go to the old version, how we used to have voucher containing any field in this, say, ledger name containing cash and say voucher with. This was the old version, what we used to do. Say ledger amount greater than 10,000 and voucher having voucher type payment. These are your payments above 10,000 that are made. Okay. Also, I want to add one more feature to this. I'll say and voucher with ledger name not containing bank. Probably you have passed the bank entries through in other than contra mode. If that is the case, you can select that voucher type. All you can do is just save this view telling cash payments. Now, this is the simplest I can think of, but at this moment, about 10K, if you want this to be default view, no, and in this case, whether you want for all companies and on this computer or this company. Now, as an auditor, you would require for all companies because your system, you're going to open all the companies. But if you're an accountant and you want it for this particular company, wherever you open it, then it is, you have to choose this. I'll choose all companies. Do you want to save it with selected period? If so, what I can additionally do is I can say this is for FY 22-23. So what I can say, yes. So no matter what happens, wherever you're doing, all you need to do is all G, no matter which period we are in. Let me just change it to March 21-22 now. So when I go to all G, saved views, cash payments, you'll see that the period comes and sits right there. Okay, because I had chosen from 1st April to 1st September. If I would have chosen from 1st April to 31st March correctly, yeah, so I can just go and edit this. Let me just quickly make it. Now, if I go Alt G for this, you can see that the period comes correctly. So you are just good to go. You can like this create. I have created something called trade payable aging, just like that. Let me just show you this. This is what we need, right, for Companies Act. What are the road outstanding for less than 365 days, for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and so on and so forth. This is exactly what we need. All it took was a couple of seconds to do it, and every company I just open and this report comes in. Similarly, I have something called trade receivables aging. Receivables, we have additional 180 and 365, so I've created a separate filter for it. Trust me, this saves you a lot of time. Right now I'm just having a couple of, say, unreconciled vouchers. Otherwise, you look into those as well. Let me just get into the setting of this. So filter details, Alt F. Not available at the time. Okay, no problem. So over here, if you just go and you protect on Alt F, it'll give you the details where you actually found the condition match. It says it has ledger name containing, the condition with which you have done your setting. That is also available. You can just, say, just save this and keep that. This is what my filter setting was. So, all you need to do is Alt F and you find exactly what was your filter setting. So based on which you had created your, view, the filter view. So this is there are multiple options. Let me just show you the number of filter options that are available. If you see, like in case of general, you have narration, reference number, voucher effective date. In case of ledger, you have the parent group. Like, the parent group name is falling into, say you have sundry data maintained location wise. And you say the parent group is having sundry data so and so. All those information will come in fall. Similarly, like discount, cost center, mailing name, all of this was already available, but now it has come, in a nice fashion, and a lot of additional features have come in. Like these, say stock item, stock value, all of these were available earlier also. But however, this parent group, parent cost center, all this was not available earlier. It was just group name. It didn't have parent or the which level of grouping, it was not clear. Now if you see GST, again it says GST status, GST status reconciled. Okay, just create one more filter, display daybook. I'm doing it in daybook. You can do it in, say, purchase. Okay, we'll do it in purchase. So I'm applying the filter here, and I'll go to advanced filter itself directly, or let me just go to multi-filter. Yeah, voucher, I want to apply on, say, GST to GST status, GST2 containing reconcile. These are the invoices that have been reconciled. So, it'll just come and reconciled. So these are all the invoices that have been reconciled. There was a question raised by one of the participants in one of the seminars that they want to only know where their invoices are matching in a particular period. They want to know where their invoices are matching. That is where they are going to release the payment, because that's how they are able to control. This is the easiest way you can find. It's all reconciled. This is exactly what the payment amount you need to release. So this way you can get a lot of features. Apart from this, you also have, let us just go beyond, like, you have HSN description, you have nature of receipt and payment. Okay, and apart from that, you also have like e-way bills and all of that, plus also your payment information, whether it is invoice, voucher status is invoice, post status, cancelled just there are no cancelled vouchers in this. This data might have. Or let me just cancel a voucher. I'll just cancel this voucher. Just gonna cancel this voucher. All right. So in case you had a cancel voucher, you will be able to see, or say cancel voucher, no, all the non-cancel vouchers you will be able to see. If you want to export this return, or we want to see B2C, B2B, right? So I can just say Control F. I want to say cancel no, and I want to say GSTN, RTGSTN as non-empty. Okay, I want to know B2B. These are all your B2B. In purchases, you'll not be able to appreciate. Let me just change the return and I make it sales. Yeah, so this is B2B. Let me just go back and you see 46 entries over here, 46 plus another 25. So now I'm going to apply the filter and say multi-filter. First of all, I don't want GSTIN is say non-empty, and party GSTN. Actually, this is not a requirement. You just say this itself is enough, starting with 33. I want only local purchases. There are. 29. Okay, so these are all your local sales. So that is, it's in a click of a button. You can know what are your local sales, not your local sales. You just have to look into the immediate quick look into if you want any requirement. Otherwise, no, I want all the B2C sales. So I'll say empty. These are all your B2C. Now in this B2C also, if I want to know how much is the cash sales. Now these are all your cash B2C sales. So you can just see if there's any detail provided, narration blank, or that also you can filter and check it out. And these are all cash sales wherein even narration has not been provided. Okay, let us check if there is any bill wise provided.
Monica ji,
Yes.
because 5 to 7 was the time, so I think it's already.
Yeah, I'm done, ma'am. Just 2 minutes and I'm done.
Okay.
These are all the invoices wherein there is no narration, there is no bill wise reference, there is no say it's obviously B2C. So there is no information as to whom this was sold and what who is the customer. And in case of transactions beyond a particular value, say 50,000, you need to have information, right? So you can say ledger amount beyond greater than say 50,000 in our case. We'll just take that as an example. So these transactions, there should have been information, but there is no information. So it just took a couple of seconds for you to get this report. All you can do is save this report and say, yes, these are all the cash sales. You might remove a certain couple of settings, say narration you might not want it, reference number you might not want it, but you can create a filter and keep it. And you can save this view, and for your future reference, you can number your saved views and keep it for your working papers. All you need to do is like export this particular details and you can keep it for your working papers. Yeah, so a lot of reports have come in. I just showed you like 1 or 2 out of it. So if you explore this particular feature, it's a great advantage for you in terms of time saving as well as effectiveness. You can do this in the not just in the day book, you can do this in the return the registers as well. The final thing was for data import and migration. All I need to show in that is whenever you import data, earlier we never knew something known as what was the error. It used to just throw us out. Now additionally you find something called exceptions. Okay, so this will be enabled if you've imported data and if there are exceptions, you have an option to select what kind of import you want to do, and it will give you the exceptions where what went wrong. It will show you in the exceptions report, and you will be able to, you just have to correct those entries. So that alone was there. There is a video to show that also. I don't have a data to import at the moment. But if you import the data, this particular exceptions option will get enabled in case there are any errors in importing. So that alone is in case you have to look into, we can do so. However, I'll just do a thing. I'll just quickly just show you. So there are 3 options that are available. You want to stop import itself. So I'll just a second. Yeah. So there are three options that it asks. Whether you want to stop, this is what used to happen earlier. It used to stop import at the first exception itself and just, throw out telling, okay, nothing happened, there's some error. But now you have this option. You would either stop or you say record exceptions and import whatever is there, or it says ignore the exceptions and import whatever is pending remaining. You can choose any one based on your requirement. Okay, exceptions could be any kind of mismatch or error in your data because due to which the import is not happening. Okay, the moment you import it, you can only import XML files. So if you import it, okay, it will show you in exceptions. So it will come and fall here. When I showed you, it was not highlighted that time. It will come and fall here and it will give you exactly what exception it was, what master related exception, and detailed information why that exception did not go through, why the import did not go through. Okay, so that is the level at which it is showing. Now opening balance over here it's saying as on 1st April 22, and over here it says 1st April 20. The data itself starts from 22 only. That's why it's showing as an exception, and the moment you clear it, it'll import. This is about the data import. If you have any queries, please put in the put your questions in the Q&A. Ma'am, I'm done with the session. I'm sorry I overshot by
No, but the use cases were very useful. So I think that is why people are patiently waiting also in spite of the time crossed. So yeah. Okay. So from SIRC, who do we have? So I think we can conclude the session. I did not see any further questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Probably if people want to give feedback on the new release, we would really be welcoming.
Yeah, you can make use of the product expert here and ask your queries or at least put in suggestions so that he can take it up further for their improvement also. So I would appreciate if there are any questions or at least suggestions, as ma'am said, if there are any feedback which you have to give for the software and or for the presentation as well. But if you are able to give, because you have a first-hand product expert who has been through the product, the envision and all of that, it'll be good if you can put your questions right there. We wait for 2 minutes, ma'am, and then we can end the session. There's no one from SIRC available.
No, I think he is there.
I'm there now.
We'll just do a thing. It is right now the time is 7:19. We'll wait for 2 minutes, and there are no more questions flowing in. We can end. If it's cool with you.
Okay, ma'am.
And meanwhile, I'll just stop my screen share. All right. Anyone from SIRC can take over now.
Okay, ma'am. I would like to propose a hearty word of thanks to CA Monica Chalani Ranka and Abbas Mohammed Ishaq for making excellent session and making this session interesting and meaningful. And I thank you for accepting our invitation for today's session, Chalani Ranka ma'am and Abbas Mohammed Ishaq sir. And thank you Komal Mahoti ma'am for joining with us today. And thank you all the participants who all participated in this session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.